Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the channel. You guys are loving my short where I talked about the storm and the wreckage, and that really got me thinking that we need to do a little bit longer of a video. We need to have a chit chat, a talk about what that really looks like deep down. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll make sure to link my short above. But in a nutshell, it really got me thinking because if y'all don't know, I am a community counselor and I deal with so much crisis work. And not just that, but also just our life, we have our lives, right? And with that being said, I really noticed in order to there are a lot of people in the world that really just deal with the things that are in front of their face day by day. We hardly ever, until we get into therapy, get to the point where we're talking about the stuff that's underneath that's creating these patterns in our lives, which can actually stop the foolery and get us to real change. So with that being said, this all came about because I was watching a TikTok, and the TikTok basically was joking about how when you finally go into the therapy office and you don't have nothing to talk about, you have all good things, you're not worried about nothing, and those be the therapy sessions where you cry the most. And I can confirm. Those are the ones where it's like you actually can get down to the nitty gritty because you are not concerned or worried about the stuff that is in front of your face on a daily that's creating a distraction. When you are dealing with the things that are creating some sort of crisis in your life, and that doesn't mean it has to be superior, right? It doesn't mean your world's being blown up, but it just means the things that require your immediate attention. If you have all these things in front of your face, you do not have the ability to think about the underneath. You are worried about the present at that current time. And that goes for a lot of us. I mean, crisis could be look, I got to deal with my car. I got to deal with my kids. I got to deal with my job. There's so many things on a daily that can be in front of our face that really takes us away from what is underneath. But the problem with that is if we are not working or paying attention to the things that are underneath, girl, you just gonna have the same routine. The same things are gonna go over and over because you haven't changed nothing. And if you didn't change anything, the same things are going to continue to happen. So it's very important to realize that yes, although it was a lot of work to get through what you had to get through and you had to survive, right? You were dealing with just what was in front of you. That was only the beginning. That was only the beginning, because now you still got more work to do. And bro, the second part, the part 2 of that work is honestly even harder, because now it's you are not dealing with just in front of you and finding a resolution for that thing, but now you have to go and sit through however long that pattern was in your life. So if you're 16, you got 16 years of work to redo, or however, when it began to form and compile itself and make sense to you. Oh my God. So for me, 29 years of life, you telling me I got to go through all that? Unlearn so many things, and not just let me back it up. Not only do you have to unlearn the things, you have to recognize that it's even there. So for some people, if you haven't already seen I have a defense mechanism video that I did. I have to get to the point where I'm even open to seeing what is there. Anyone, not just me, but you got to be willing to see what is there. And then you have to make the conscious decision to say, I'm going to change this thing. And then you have to work to change this thing. So you got 3 to 4 steps that you have to take to really repair. So going back to that TikTok that I had said, there's a storm and then there's the wreckage. The storm is quick. The storm is immediate. The storm is something that will knock everything out. But that rebuilding process, you got to rebuild schools. You got to rebuild churches. You got to rebuild houses. You got to agriculture. You got to make sure that you get your food back up. You got to make sure that, you're farming. Oh my God. What? That's a lot. That's so much work. And I just think it's so important that if we are talking about truly changing something, about ourselves, changing our situation, changes the way we think, change what we put ourselves in. Because don't get me wrong, not everything in life is in our control, but what is in your control, what things are you reproducing and creating in your life, baby, that requires insight. And if you dealing with crises at the moment, you do not have the capacity or the time frame, if we being honest, the time to look underneath to stop some of those patterns. And while we're on the subject, that also makes me think about the term addicted to chaos. Have you guys ever heard that, or you've seen someone where it's kind of like they always got to have something going on in their life, or a homegirl where she's like talking and she's just kind of like, you know what, this person is boring, or this situation is boring. There's not really nothing going on because it's calm. But really, like, you looking at them like they the problem. Like, girl, it is because you are so used to the hustle and bustle. We have trained our minds, and there's certain like hormones that go through our mind to basically help us feel alive. Quite frankly, it's actually your adrenaline and your cortisone levels. It is pumping through our body when we are in survival mode, or when the chaos is occurring, that almost makes us feel like we have to be like this superhero. We're moving, and it really like pumps us up and makes us feel like we are alive. And when you go on for too long like that, my supervisor and my professors used to say this: neurons that wire together fire together. If you continuously have these sort of actions, thoughts, brain chemicals pumping together, the more you do it, the more they lock in. So it gets to the point where you, in a sense, are addicted to the chaos. These things, they go hand in hand. And so it's more like you feel more comfortable when there is something happening, where there's a thrill, where you gotta watch your back, where you gotta keep going. Because when it's calm, it's boring. Like your body doesn't know how to react to that. So sometimes, again, back to those patterns, you can create this world where you again need something to be happening in order to feel like it's livable, like it is thrilling, it is action. But if I'm being honest, you blocking your blessings. And if we're being even more honest, wasn't that what you was fighting for in the beginning? Won't you fighting for safety? Won't you fighting for stability? And now you have gotten through the thick of it, and you've gotten there, and it feels weird. It's not what you expected it to be. And another reason why this is so concerning, and why I did a lesson learn on this, is because if you have your adrenaline levels and your cortisone levels pumping for so long, they start to overshadow some of the other hormones that our brain needs to pump out for us long term. We are denying ourselves our dopamine and our serotonin hormones. And I don't know if you know, but those are very important. Those are things that help us with our self-esteem, our image, our confidence level. I mean, and think about it, really think about it. How many times have you talked to someone who is in this cycle, right? Or even yourself, you notice that there is this ongoing cycle of chaos. They need to be in the chaos, but they have such low self-esteem. They feel invaluable when they are not going through this craziness. They feel like they have no, even for some people, I have noticed, and working with some clients, they have no feelings at all. Like they feel almost empty if they are not feeling this sort of rush that is happening. And it is so concerning, because you do have value even when you are not in crisis. And you're more likely to cling to those other hormones that not only put you in survival mode literally all the time, which is detrimental, but hurts you in the long run, because you're not clinging to these emotions down here. You're clinging to these emotions up here. And obviously, just like life, there really needs to be this balance that needs to be made. And when we start to look at that balance, that is when you start to notice maybe people are going to therapy, they're doing grounding techniques, they are trying to rebuild their confidence, just really any sort of insight-based approaches, because the ultimate issue is not our surroundings. It is your internal that you have to work on, because that is the real change. All this other extra stuff, that is the exterior. The storm is a temporary cover-up for the actual work that needs to be done inside. So baby, This is a time where you need to build yourself up, put on your armor, because life always comes with another storm. But this time, you should be ready. So that is basically, in a nutshell, how I even got to my lesson learned. I hope you guys like this video. If you guys want more of these videos on how I even get to my lesson learns, because I literally have a whole conversation in my head, we can do more videos like these because I like them. So make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.